Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode 117 of an ongoing series where we basically take the camera anywhere we want and we try to find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games. It's the game taking people by storm right now. I honestly thought that maybe it was a meme, but no, a lot of you genuinely wanted me to cover Untitled Goose Game, so I tried to make this as special as possible. Really quick, I just want to thank Mike Maho for making this camera. He also did the episode for ukulele, so thanks for coming back and helping out with this episode, sir. And as you Goose players probably know, this is a shorter game, so ergo, it's going to be a shorter episode, sad to say. But that isn't to say that I didn't find anything. So why don't we get started and take a look. I want to take it to where it all began in this epic 3-hour journey, and that is inside the bush that houses the goose. Now, when you start the game, you pop out of the bush, and so it starts. But what does it look like if you take the camera inside of the bush before the goose pops out? Well, the goose is there in all its glory with its neck scrunched down, its limbs scrunched in, and its tail pointed up. And this is what it looks like when the goose springs its head open during that animation. But that's not all. At the top of the screen, you might notice that it shows the mouse symbol and it says to move, double click to run. Well, if you take the camera underneath the entire map when this is on screen, you'll find symbols that match up to the height and width of that font. But funny enough, this isn't the only time this happens. Anytime there is a prompt on the screen, this information is stored underneath the map in the same spot. This includes when you pause the game or if you look at your to-do list, because the to-do list is very interesting in that the pages are separate from the font, and the font rests slightly above the paper, not in fact written on it like it looks in the game. So here's something that's really funny. You know those wings that the goose extends and flaps? There's a dedicated button for it and everything. Well, when those wings aren't extended, they go back into the body. And I mean that very literally. Taking the camera inside of the goose's body can find a pair of wings. And by slowing down the footage here, you can see how they expand outside of the body. This effect isn't really used in any other part of the game, but one thing that's kind of similar in a small sort of way is when an NPC is looking for a certain item and you can see the item hovering above their head. Now when that happens, that thought bubble is in fact a 3D model. And when you manipulate the camera, you can see that object at all angles. So the camera in Untitled Goose Game is very limited, which as a result, some of the environments that you walk through in this game can't be seen because you can't manipulate the camera in such a way. There are 3 environments that I thought of to show you today that fall into this camp. The first one is the TV store. Now, here's the thing, you can already kind of see what's inside the store just by looking at the TV monitors on the outside, but just so that there's proof here that this is a real projection of what's being pointed at, taking the camera inside shows you that same computer monitor that shows up on those televisions. But very close to that is the garage. Now, 2 things with the garage. One is here's the interior, and funny enough, there is a boundary break within a boundary break. Now, I'm showing you something that you never really got to see before, but here's a fridge, and inside of that fridge is an interior that looks like it was meant to be opened at one point, but there is special 3D modeling to show that there was an intention to put something in here. Also, while we're inside the garage, why don't we take a look at the character models when they're locked inside? You can hear them banging on the door, so I just wanted to see what it looks like on the other side because you never get a chance to see it. Funny enough, if you were to take the camera over here at this time, there is an animation for the characters banging on the door. It just doesn't quite hit the door because it doesn't want to clip through the geometry of the door, but it's an animation cycle that you, the player, will never get a chance to see. And of course, the house that you go through with Untitled Goose. Now, when the goose goes through the house, the camera stays on the outside of the house, and you can just see chaos ensuing, and then the goose gets kicked out the other side. However, here's what all that looks like from inside the house. Here's a whole segment dedicated to things stored out of places. Like right here with the broom. Now, there's a certain point in this game where you're supposed to rip off the bristles of the broom to get something off of your checklist. Now, what's cool, though, is that the bristles of the broom are a separate object from the broom itself, and it gets swapped out in real time. Now, where those broom bristles is behind this building, completely out of the player's view. And if we move the camera in this way, we can see both the goose and the broom bristle in the same shot. And so when we pop that broom bristle off of the broomstick, you can see when it gets immediately swapped in with this all new object. Something very similar happens here too. Now, when I was going through the beginning of the game, I hadn't gotten to this point yet, and I found this box inside of a building, and I didn't know what exactly the purpose was. I was almost certain that it was going to be completely cut content, but then when I got to this part of the game, it all started to click. See, there's this woman that goes through the bar, and she's carrying a box. Now, when she gets to the end of this cycle, she puts the box inside this building. The box pops inside the building outside the player's view, and then she does a walk cycle back to the minivan. Now, when she goes to the minivan, she crawls inside, and once again manages to escape the player's view. And when she does, she grabs the box that was stored inside that building, and that box gets teleported to her hands, thus repeating the cycle all over again. Also, at this point in the game, there's an objective to put the mug in the moat. Now, there's multiple mugs to pull this off with, but there is a catch to the whole thing, and that is that the mugs can shatter. Now, once again, this isn't one single object. Things are getting swapped out with one another when this animation happens. So when the mug shatters, the model for that mug has to be stored somewhere, and where it gets stored is all the way outside the map here. See, there's 3 mugs in total, one that gets respawned, and then there's 2 that just never come back. And if you ever wanted to know where they were, this is where you're gonna find them. Now let's talk about all things related to water. What's funny is that with this river here, I saw it was a nice effect, and I took the camera down below the environment, and it shows that the water is in fact a cylinder that just keeps spinning. It's a nice easy way to do a little waterfall, but you know what's funny is that despite how clever this is, it's used 2 times in this game, and the other time is at this fountain over here. See, with this fountain, you have this little stream that comes out of the top, and once again, it's just a long ring that just keeps spinning. And because of that, the desired effect is reached where it just looks like a constant stream of water. And while we're inside of this well, there's something really odd going on here. There seems to be a whole bunch of white geometry for some reason. These are multiple white blocks padded underneath the fountain, presumably to help with the formation of the water on the top. And lastly, there is this well here, and when you take the camera through the ground and you look at the well, you can see that the well has a shape that is much, much deeper than you would think. And I say that because the surface of the well that you can see in game has geometry that covers up how deep it could possibly go, meaning you're never intended to even get an idea of how deep it actually is. But as you can see right now, this is the true model of the well. And like I said a second ago, its depth is much, much deeper. So anyways, this is the outro of the show. I have a lot to show you in terms of new perspectives as well as zooming out the entire map. So I want to talk as much as possible so that you can see as much of this as you can. I guess really quick, I'll just get this out of the way. Turns out that notification bells means a lot to whether or not the algorithm shares the video around. So if you're a mega fan and you really want to help out, hit the bell for that purpose alone. I know that it's a kind of a silly thing to do, but if you want to support me in the best way possible, that would be the way to do it. I try not to ask my viewers for too many favors. I feel like it's a real distraction from the entertainment, which is what matters most to me. But the numbers have been a little bit funky lately, and I feel the need to try to advocate for myself for once. Outside of that, if it's your first time on this channel, we got Link's Awakening on the Switch coming up, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I may also do Crash Team Racing. I've also thought about doing a certain pitch video. I won't get into the details of it just yet. If I decide to make it, I'll make it. But to kind of give you guys an indication of what's to come, I really would love to expand the channel in a big way, and I pretty much just want to run it by you guys first, just to be safe. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I think it's just about done now with the footage that I had to show you as far as a zoom out as well as a tour through the town in a goose's perspective. So I am going to duck out, and I will see you next time.